want to talk about something that is the most powerful yet very challenging thing that we can offer another person. And it's very helpful for us too. But it is about listening, listening to someone, not to just hear their words or wait for your turn to talk, but true, curious, open hearted listening. No assuming, no fixing, no disagreeing, no needing to, extend our own opinions. Just to lean in with a presence, with a respect. And this takes us, it requires us to drop into our heart space because it's just so human to quickly offer, our own point of view. And we might think that's coming from the heart space, but the true heart space is to lean back and to listen, not needing to give them our point of view, right? And yeah, you know what? When we're truly still in our head and not in our heart, we begin to assume in our mind that we already know what they're trying to say and where this story is going. But what happens then when we have this tendency to jump in, we're assuming we know where they're going with this or what they need or that they need our wisdom. But assuming blocks us from actually hearing what that other person is saying. And it completely disconnects us from each other. So when we assume, we stop listening. We're just hearing through our own filter of, hey, I already know where this is going. And when we do that, we miss what's being said. So this week, I'm challenging you. I'm challenging me too, because that's a big one for me. And it sounds so simple. Let's just listen. Okay? But it's not easy. We want to challenge ourselves to listen, to understand, not to fix, not to push our own point of view onto another. Right? You can ask questions, not to prove a point, but questions that will, like that curious presence. I want to truly understand. And maybe that means no questions. But when you come into the heart space and you lean into presence and curiosity, that's the practice. To really open-heartedly listen, practice presence and curiosity. When someone is speaking, pause that mind's tendency to jump ahead. Let go of the idea that you need to even respond or you have to ask a question. You don't have to, right? Let the other person lead. Let them speak. Let what they're going to say unfold. And often, if there's like a pause, as humans, our mind gets very uncomfortable with those pauses. It wants to fill in the blank. But no, that's when we lean back and let the other person continue to lead and let what they're going to say unfold. And one of the big things is when we have this tendency to disagree with what they're saying, right? That's the challenge in staying curious, right? I can feel this in me that I want to disagree with what they're saying. I want to debate what they're saying. I want, I'm all up in my head of judging and, pause, breathe. Even if you have to place your hand on your heart and remind yourself, no, I'm just going to simply be present to see if I can really be aware of where they're coming from. And in that space, oh my goodness, that is such a gift. It is a true gift to them because they get an opportunity to really be heard and felt like they're heard. And sometimes that's all somebody really truly needs. but it's also a gift to ourselves to let ourselves come into that place of presence. We don't have to have the answers. There's no strategy to this. There's no advice we need to offer. We just need to be present. And in that, we respect the other person and we're respecting ourselves. Okay? And just we get to observe our own tendencies. And this is where it can go deeper. When you really notice, I have such a tendency to jump in and to fix or correct them. And in that, where I want to disagree. So what's happening then is we're getting triggered. We're getting triggered. We've stopped listening. We're now triggered because that's wrong, right? They need to be corrected on that. No, 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 no. And this is where we need to lean in within ourselves and really listen to what's being activated within us, right? Why do I need them to think or to feel or to see something the way I see it? Right? Right? Because I think I'm right and they're wrong, or I think I have something that they can benefit from. And you know what? That might be the case. It could be. Who knows? But then we're making it all about us. This is about listening to them with an open heart. They don't need us to fix it. They don't need the answers from us. They just need our listening. Okay? And there's even something else to this. If we're really triggered with this, there is something that we can really ask ourselves. What if everything that I know to be true is actually based on or started from assumptions? And that is something that that's what stops me and goes, what if everything I believe to be true was all started on assumptions? And I don't really know what this person needs. I don't really truly have the answers. What if I could possibly be wrong? So in that space, I can lean back. There might be something I can learn from this. I don't need to be right. I don't need to give them my point of view. That's an uncomfortable feeling, right? Especially when, the ego wants to be right, or the ego really, and the ego will say, no, I'm just coming from a place of the heart. I want them to see it the way I see it. Now, okay, we just need to, and this is important when we start questioning, do I even know what's true or right? And we might be very clear on what is true for us. We're going, yeah, I know exactly what's true. I've done the work. I know what's true for me. And that's great. That's very, respectful of the work that you've done. But now we need to offer that respect to somebody else. I get to have my truth, and I get to let them have their truth. So this isn't easy, but this form of listening is a kind of love for them, and it'll improve any relationship. But just practice listening, practice noticing what's going on inside of you and the triggers and the tendencies to jump in. Because when why is this a form of love, to really do this kind of open-hearted listening? Because what it says in our silence and our willingness to let them speak and have their own opinions, what it really says without words is, I'm not here to change you. I'm just here to see you. And it says that you're allowed to have your truth, even if it's different than mine. There's a lot of power in that. Okay, so this week's intention, this week's challenge, shall we say, is to listen with our heart, with presence, and curiosity. That's when we truly are listening with our heart. We are listening with presence, with curiosity, right? And then be willing. So when we're in that heart space, when we're present and curious, we then can be willing to not need to be right. We can be willing to say, hey, I have my truth and you get to have your truth. That's it. Right? And then that puts us in that place of listening to understand, not fix or change their mind, just be curious. And then if you want to ask some questions from that space, it's coming from a very genuine space of curiosity, a desire to understand somebody else's point of view or their perception. It needs no words, just be present and curious. Now, we are actually going to do a little bit of tapping with this because this is a tough one. And there's the 4 thumps that we've done before, but we're just going to do it right here. So just rub your hands together, create some energy, shake it out, and I'd like you to tap underneath your eyes. Okay, so this is a stomach meridian point that helps us to ground our energy. So this allows us to ground into presence. So you can be there and listen to whatever somebody is saying. And then it grounds you in the presence to allow you to come into curiosity. Then we're going to move to the collarbone point. So this is a point, K27 point, that helps our energy start to move in the right direction. So guess what the right direction is? Out of our head, out of our ego, and into our heart. So our head is like, no, we got to fix this. Our ego is like, oh, I disagree with them. I've got to challenge them. I need them to see it my way, or I can offer them something. That's the ego. Let's just come into the heart. There it is. Open-hearted listening, right? No answers we need to give them. No strategy, no advice. I'm just going to give them space. And then here's our thymus. This is the heart space. I'm going to listen with an open heart, with curiosity, with presence. I'm going to let them have their truth. And in that, I get to honor my own truth. And if I'm being triggered, if this is really hard for me, it's not about them, it's about me. I get to work on my own need to, maybe I don't feel listened to, maybe I don't feel heard. So we get to do some internal inquiry. And then we do the last tap, which is just the spleen points on the outside, liver points, but just come along here and just metabolize this in. Presence is a powerful gift to give someone. And the curiosity and the willingness to listen, it starts to build a connection. And the more we honor that in someone else, the more we learn to honor that in ourselves. Okay, so just shake that out, bring your hands together. Thank you, my friends, for listening in. And this week, let's get really clear that we want to listen with an open heart. Clear that space, get curious, and just simply listen. It's a powerful place for us to be. Thank you. Namaste.